country, including this where City of Joburg officials are also vowing to reclaim hijacked inner city buildings, and this following the death of 77 people in the Marshall Town fire. But officials are now saying that the structures will be taken back regardless of any court orders. Crime and forensic expert Calvin Rafadi joins me now to discuss the modus operandi of these landlords who end up just really hijacking this building. So Calvin, thank you so much for your time. I mean, we just heard from the Police Minister Bheki Cele talking about, political killings and the modus operandi there, the progress they've made as law enforcement. While we're dealing with that, though, we cannot deny the issue around hijacked buildings and the syndicates involved. You better place to fill us in on what their modus operandi is. What does it look like?
Good day to me, and then good day to your viewers. Yeah, indeed, this thing of hijacking of buildings, it's a serious problem in South Africa. And I just want us to pack the issue about illegal immigrants and just deal with the hijacking of the buildings. Now, these people that hijack these buildings, let's call them the underworld. Now, how they group themselves in this particular modus operandi, they've got a data on who's owning which building. But this data, remember, they are given this data by either the city of Johannesburg or even any other cities where they hijack these buildings. And based on that data, now they are able to either go and approach the owner, the actual owner of that building, which will be illegally occupied, or they themselves, if they know that it belongs to the city, they occupy that building. And based on that, they are the ones who now will be collecting rent. Now, why we see so many buildings getting banned is because of the following reasons. They either fighting for theft so that they can take these buildings and occupy them, or they want to ban these buildings. They themselves, they ban these buildings because they drive around with bouncers, security bouncers. So at night, they come and ban this particular building. So what their modus operandi, they'll ban a vehicle at the basement parking or some object with high number of fuel so that it can cause enormous fire. That once that happens, then they are able, the next day, once people have evacuated the building, they bring up their own security, demarcate the place, then they take over the building. So if it's a building that is owned by a particular investor, what they will do is they will then renovate that building and have new tenants into that building. If it's occupied by the city of Johannesburg or let's say any other city, they register the NPOs or the foundation, NPC, then they make a motivation that no, this building, we want to occupy it, but we'll renovate it, to put up the windows and whatever, so that it can be of human use, and then they can occupy the building.
My goodness. Calvin, it sounds like a syndicate to me, but also when we hear you talking about, obviously, them being able to get residents, tenants. Obviously, that means they're collecting rent. What kind of tenants are they then looking for? Are these unsuspecting tenants who don't know that a building is hijacked and perhaps doesn't want to be associated with a hijacked building? They just see these documents that look legitimate and then they are almost trapped into paying rental into these syndicates' account. Or are these tenants and potential residents who may know that the building is hijacked, but they're so destitute and desperate for accommodation that they are willing to actually pay their money into a hijacked building landlord's account?
Yes, to me, that's a good one. That's why I said in the beginning that let's put the illegal immigrants on the side. Because everybody in South Africa, those who don't have accommodation, they are in need of accommodation. Those who don't qualify to have housing, or they've relocated from maybe KZN or whatever, they are places of birth, and they're looking for opportunities of job. They become the tenants. But here's another modus operandi on why most police, when they raid those buildings, they don't become successful. And we have tested that because we used to raid with them on those buildings. Now, what they do, the first floor, second floor, like your bottom floors, they get ordinary people that becomes their what you call occupants, which will become their tenants. Now, in those flats, you'll find them petitioning with just curtains, and then 4, 5 families, they'll be residing in those particular flats as in one unit. Now, the top floors, what they will normally do is now they do not petition those rooms. That's where now you get your online scammers, you get your illegal call centers, you get those that are manufacturing this particular drug, like your Thai white cocaine and many other crimes. There hasn't been, and that's why the recent building that got burned, they demarcated or they used the welder on the fire stairs, the emergency fire stairs. Right. Because when police, they come, they must use one entrance to enter the building. So once they use one entrance, they've got boys, the scouters at the ground floor, which will send the big guys or the syndicates up in the top floor and SMS. Then they know that now police are coming up. So they will flash the drugs quickly. And then by the time the police, they get up to 6th, 7th floor, they find nothing but only to charge them with illegal immigrants, or they find them with nothing of any criminal activities. Wow. But that's how the modus operandi goes, and this is how the underworld of this hijacked buildings.
Kelvin, I have to let you go in a matter of literally very briefly, if you can. MMC of Public Safety, Mgcini Tshwaku, as well as the MMC of Transport, Kenukunene, says they will raid these buildings. They will take them over one by one. Will they be successful?
Well, it's so difficult, and that's another thing why this syndicate, they ban this building deliberately, because the process of eviction and the PIA Act, once it kicks in, then it becomes very difficult for one to evict those people. The only thing that they need to do is the police, to give the police a chance. They need to find those syndicates or those underworld. They must confiscate their phones, arrest them, and see their communication, and we get to the bottom of how they operate, what is the modus operandi, and who in the municipalities they've got connections.
I leave it there. Thank you so much for speaking to me. Crime and forensic expert Calvin Rafadi is speaking to me more about the modus operandi of these syndicates when it comes to hijacked buildings. A long way to go for law enforcement and government officials to take back those cities away from the hands of the masterminds of these hijacked buildings. But I'll leave it there for now.